All right. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a nice break. Got hydrated, as Jesse said. Did, went to the bathroom, got lunch, whatever it is you needed to do. So, coming up pretty soon, just after I'm done introducing him, we're going to have Mark Cooper. Mark is a multidisciplinary rapper and producer. He works primarily in nerdcore, but he's kind of all arounder. He does music in all sorts of genres. He's from Detroit, Michigan. Gotta love that city. San Jose, Detroit, we're great cities. His music covers a lot of nerdy topics from games to Power Rangers, Naruto, wrestling. It's a ton of fun. It's a perfect blend of nostalgia. Mark has shared the stage with the likes of MC Lars, MC Frontalot, Sammus, Megaran, and he's headlined events like PAX South and NERDVANA. He's even performed in Times Square for Liberty City Anime Con. He's also landed sponsorships with My Hydration Pack and produced cyphers for Team Backpack. This guy has got so many credits. I actually met Mark a few years ago. I've had the pleasure of working with him on a number of projects. And as of right now, Mark will correct me when he gets on, but I'm pretty sure he either was about to or just hit this milestone of 50 professional projects completed, which is amazing. Congratulations. It's huge. And we're about to have him on for his honest talk about navigating both success and failure as an artist and why that's so important. It's really, really hard as an artist to deal with those kinds of things. So welcome to the summit, Mark.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me out here. Like I said, what Gene just said, my name is Mark Cooper. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, nerdcore music, things of that nature in general. But I mean, as artists, we always get into this point where it's like, so say a little bit about yourself and introductions and things like that. But that kind of pretty much summed it up. I've been making music for about half of my life, which is 17 years. I know I'm showing my age right now. But, you just know how long it takes to get those 10,000 hours to get where you really need to be. So the name of this panel is called Success and Failure. The reason why I named it Success and Failure is because, to be personally honest with you, that's been my biggest fear my whole life. The fear of failure, which is pretty self-explanatory, working as hard as you possibly can to get to a goal, but you're not able to reach that goal, either like you're not able to reach what you really want in life. And sometimes that could be a fear among that. And then you could also have what's called a fear of success. And I know a lot of people are like, fear of success, you're doing great. How could you have a fear with that? It's the fact that success, you'll get to the point where it's like an adrenaline thing, as in you'll have some things succeeding and things are moving. But after a while, you start not paying attention to the main important things that come in life, like value of life and family and health and things like that. Sometimes, in layman terms, success can kill you. And once you get to the point where you understand the balance of success and failure, it's learning from your failures and appreciating your success. And that's the main value I want to make sure you guys take for the panel. So we can always start off like this. What is success and what is failure? Success is where, everybody has the analogy, success is what you make it. If you feel that because of, maybe getting your first house, having a family, having, like a 5-year plan, 401k, your dream job, whatever you would like to do profession-wise or hard work pays off, success is what you make. But the real thing about success is what you feel you got 100% value out of. That's really success in the mind. And that doesn't mean necessarily that where it comes to success, that when it comes to things being 100% and where it needs to be, that's the value. So whatever you value is what success should be. Now, when I go back, we talk about, okay, so what is failure? Failure is what it is. It's not being able to achieve what you needed to achieve. Or what you value was not valuable enough also. Because I've seen individuals that sold thousands of records and all types of things all the time. And the crazy thing about it is they may not be happy. Like, for example, like Robin Williams, the perfect example. This dude has like quite a few things going on there. And it just makes it overall crazy about, you can see he's done so many amazing things, but he wasn't as happy as he wanted to be. And that's a fear of success as well. You can get to the point that you'll be so successful, then you won't be able to breathe like you used to. And that's the scary thing about success and failure with that. So it's the whole point is to make sure you know about between the two, that you'll be able to make the balance that you naturally need, so you find your own value of success and being content with that. And I'd like to say that about that for artists. So I wanted to give like a raw information about success and failure so I can really go into it as the artist. So if you guys are in the room with who I am right now in the room, where you guys are at, everything okay? Okay. All right. I just wanted to be sure. Sorry about that. So you're an artist. You just came out with your first song, your first album, your first single. You did your first show. You did your first tour. You put your first stuff on digital platforms. You're starting a promotion. You're selling CDs, vinyls, tapes. People are streaming your songs. Here's the gist. And I'm just going to be honest on the sake of an artist. When you get to that particular stage of everybody says, you go indie, or they try to get to a major label, or they try to get some kind of distribution, money for the investment, pushing, all those things. There's one key factor that I feel like, as an artist, learning for a long time, that you can be able to take on with your journey and understand it. Once you get past this, I swear you'll have less stressful nights and you'll be able to breathe. As crazy as it sounds, the people who like, share, follow, all the people that you know personally, like, share, follow, and all of those things, they're not your fan base. They're your friends. They're your support system. And sometimes as artists, we appreciate that. And we get comfortable with knowing that, okay, well, I got my friends that been from high school and they like everything I'm doing, so obviously I'm doing the thing. But then the next time you're like, look, I'm coming out with a show, and you don't have barely anybody there. And then now you have this look like, you get mad and feel like, oh, these people hating, oh, these people they don't support me or anything like that. That's the thing. They support you. I'm using this the word. They're supporting Mark Cooper, the person. Once you learn the fact that your friends and family are supporting you first, it doesn't mean they can't be fans of the music. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, once you grasp the category that your friends and family are not your fan base with that, then you'll be able to really understand where you stand with your fan base. And that's one of the things that you got to look at where it comes to failure. You have to understand and look yourself right in the mirror. Nobody's stopping you but you. So you have to sit down and be honest with yourself and say, hey, I'm making music. I'm doing great. I'm enjoying what I love, what I do. That's perfect. The more that you love the things that you do, the further you will go. So if you're pandering, trying to look for a trend that everybody else is doing, because that's what the popular sound is, or that's what the popular industry thing is, you're not going to make it. Or even worse, you'll make it for that trend gimmick you just did, and only labels, industry, all they want is songs like that from you. Like here's a producer story. So if you guys heard Designer, there's a rapper named Designer, and he's got a very popular single like back in 2015 or 2016. It was called Panda. And the producer of that beat was from another country. So the crazy story about that is, once they found out he made that beat, and then they split the the royalties and the all the particular splits and everything. What did industry people do? All they did was hit him up in his email and say, yeah, so we like your beats, but we want the same kind of beat that you did for Panda. And then eventually it turns into a revolving factor. It's not even creative control anymore. It's like you're doing it so it could be the outlet to pay the bills. And in music, you don't want to necessarily get into that path. You want to be able to enjoy everything that you come out with 100% every single time. Which comes down to the other portion of an artist, to make sure you know that's definitely something to watch out for. Planning. We as creatives, we make our projects, we make our albums, we make our singles, and all of those things, right? And we release them to the world because we're excited, right? There's going to be a point in time where you have to sit down and understand the the natural progress of planning a promoting an album. Like, these are some of the tips that I could give as an opinion. So in my experience, the best thing that you want to do is you want to have I believe the standard way, have at least a 30-day plan. If you got things done even sooner, go with a 90-day. The reason why I say you go with a 90-day is relatively simple. First month, you come out with a single, have a video for it, promote that single all month. Next month, another single, video, promote it all month. Last one, promote a single. Bring back the other two. Maybe run a listening party for the project, because you can do Twitch, you can do all these different kinds of internet platforms for that. And then when the album comes out, everybody's heard at least 3 songs from that, 3 visuals, and then you can have like any kind of ad, run for that, and being able to, let people know that the songs are there. That's one part. But then another part that you can do is start engaging the followers you have. I've seen too many people have like 15, 20,000 followers, but they never talk to them. They never engage with them. They comment and do all these different kinds of things, but they never engage with the fans that took their time out to talk to you. Once you engage with them, get an email from them. Get something personal where it looks like you can make a friendship out of that person. Because I'll tell you right now, if you have 10,000 followers, it's good to do this process now when you got like 500 to 1,000 followers, because if they really mess with your music and they feel, they feel exactly what you're able to do, they're the ones who are going to buy the record and buy the album and buy the merch and buy all those things, because you already made that general relationship and connection. Following those steps turn failures in those departments into success. Then after that, it's just really the creativity. The better songs you make, all of that. That's a factor as well. Understand where your skill level is. I know as artists, we can be like, yeah, we can do all this. We can mix and master. We can produce. We can write. We can do all those things. But if you're trying to make a good sound, reach out to an engineer. Reach out to a producer. Reach out to a songwriter if you're into that kind of thing. Reach out to a digital marketer if you're not 100% sure how to do this. Make a plan. And be concrete with it. Write it down. And I'm one of those old school persons. Write it with pen and paper. The reason why I say that is because it's muscle memory and it's easier to remember. Remember when we used to do multiplication tables and we would constantly write them over and over and over and over again? Follow that same logic with your plan. Because once you stick with the plan, you have a way to measure success, a way to amend it, and a way to put it together. Just like building a custom computer. If that graphics card don't work with the motherboard like you want to, find out some stuff that does. Find some stuff that fits and works. If the computer is too slow, see if you can switch to a solid state. Switch to RAM. Different processor. You know what I mean? There's multiple different things where it comes to that factor. So planning is extremely important where it comes to things like that. Now, the next thing is this, as an artist, if you perform. And this is ironic because I'm just leaving a performance. I'm at BlurCon in DC. I just got done performing, so I'm sorry if my voice is hoarse already, but I just wanted to personally let you know. And planning is important. And health is important where it comes to that. The way you hold the microphone is important. The way you look, appearance is important. The attitude you have on stage is important. I mean, a lot of things that you take for granted, you never think about, could change the experience of a fan or a potential fan in a heartbeat. It's extremely important to know those kind of things. And also Make sure I've seen it. I've already seen it earlier today. And I just want to let any new artist know, or anybody's watching, label your sets. Label them, number them, so the DJ does not have any confusion. Either the DJ or your DJ or anybody who's there doing your show or your set, have a set list. Prepare for that. If you can get a sound check, go for it. I know a lot of people be like, practice. Like like Allen Iverson, practice. No, it's extremely important. Practice is extremely important where it comes to being an artist, especially if you're a vocal artist or a person who plays an instrument. Those deciding factors will be the difference of having something in failure and not getting it where you need to be, or closer to success. You'll feel more in a value, or more of a value for future endeavors if you follow those particular steps. Remember, make a plan. Remember to practice, work on your craft, be honest with yourself. It's not like you're trying to impress anybody here. I'm Mark Cooper. I literally been through all of those things already, like a good amount of time. And Gene is correct. I mean, I just released my 50th project. And I know people are back and forth like, wow, that's a lot of projects or whatever. Does that mean that you have failure or anything? No, not at all. I just created a value. And then by using that in my appearance, it's something that you can deliver that way also. Other than that, the last thing I want to say with that, and then I'm going to go right into questions and answers. I would love to hear what you guys have opinion-wise and things like that. It'd definitely be a blessing. I appreciate even speaking on this platform with these legends, man. You know what I mean? Two musicians on this platform shaped my childhood in music and in gaming. So it's an honor to be on the same platform with them, along with a lot of creatives that are really incredible. So I'm very excited about that. So it's two things. One thing is, don't focus so hard on the numbers. Don't focus so hard on having the biggest following or the biggest content and streams and all that. Don't focus hard on those, because I'll tell you why. I've already seen artists come to different states with hundreds and thousands of followers on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, like complete packages marketing, and come up to a show and 4 people will show up. It doesn't, that numbers game on the internet, it matters in the sense to get you in the door. But if you can't bring people to come into the con or come into the show or anything like that, it doesn't mean anything. That's very important. And that's what I mean by success and failure. I may not be the person who has a lot of the followers and tangible and things like that, but I make it the craft way to make an impression on the audience I do have, engage with them. And then when you build that fan base, people will see you in the street or see you at a con or see you at an event and be like, I know who he is. And that's something I didn't have to do Instagram for. I shook his hand or shook his or her hand, smiled, and I said, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you. And that's the best way that you want to look at those. And the final main point out of all the things that's happening right now, always love what you do. If you don't love it, or you feel it's a come up to get somewhere, or it's a clout chasing thing, or it's a pandering thing, or anything like that, you shouldn't be here in the first place. And what people don't understand is, like, we can see it. We can definitely see it. And it ain't nothing worse than you get to that position where you caught in a facade that, like you're the greatest thing ever. And then you go to perform. Nobody cares. And then you're like, it is what it is. But other than that, I just wanted to explain the differences with success and failure, and understand the values of understanding what your fan base is, learning how to make a plan, and making sure that you're just not watching the comments outside. Because to be honest, it'll drive you crazy. Make the music because you love to do it. Other than that, that's really all I have. Like I said, my name is Mark Cooper. You can find me on all streaming platforms at itsmarkcooper.com or all the socials at It's Mark Cooper. A little bit of small stuff about me. Not only I'm a rapper and a producer, I also score films as well. Right now, I'm working on Power Rangers Unworthy episodes 4, and so on. I just did the trailer for their episode there. I produced for video games. One of them was Astragon. I believe it's got about 400,000 downloads in Apple Music and in Play Store. And other than that, it's just loving what I do. But if anybody has any other questions, I'm ready to take a Q&A. Just we can just go from there.
Awesome. Am I on with Mark? I think I'm on with you, Mark. I just can't. No, not yet. Okay. I don't see myself yet. Ah, there we go. Cool. Mark, can you hear me okay? Ah, I disappeared again. There we go. Mark, thank you. You are experienced and you've been through so many different aspects of what it takes to be a performing artist. And I'm going to field a few questions here. One thing that I think is interesting that you were talking about is kind of this idea of staying in your lane. And I paraphrase that, but staying in your lane means you don't get distracted by trends or what's popular. But what do you do specifically to kind of fact check yourself when you hear something that you think is really cool and you're kind of thinking like it's an inspiration? Like, how do you make sure you're making your music?
Well, the best way about it, is actually the epitome of it. Like Nerdcore is really a particular lane in general. Like it goes with like pop references, video games, cartoons, anime, comic fiction, science fiction, like all of those particular avenues and situations. So the best way I check myself personally is I try my best to rap about what I actually know, what I actually grew up with. So it works for me because, and it's kind of a cheat code, but it's not, but not really, but it's kind of a cheat code. Um, I do nostalgia nerdcore, so I rap about the things I grew up with, and I know that when it comes to writing songs, and I'm just saying as a songwriter and things like that, if you can resonate with the topic that you're writing about, the lyrics are better most of the time.
Yes.
They're not surface anymore. Like there's a very difference of saying, something like I go Super Saiyan like Goku versus I feel it like the heart virus. You feel what I'm saying? It's a different pocket and a different kind of thing. Like for example, you could say something like, "Yeah, I hang out with the Ninja Turtles," but they don't know the secret of the ooze. Get what I'm saying? It's knowing the particular nostalgia topics that you're going with. So it's soon, and that's what makes it so it's not like a trending situation because now nerd culture is mainstream. Everybody under the sun is doing Thanos snaps, but never seen a comic book in their lives. Certain individuals are now rapping about anime they never seen before because Wikipedia exists. You see what I mean? There's a lot of different
Yes.
avenues of thinking about it. But I stay in my lane just by rapping about the things I love to do.
Yes, it's the approach that's what's coming out inside of you. Another question for you is you talked about planning, and I think this is really interesting because the housekeeping of planning for most people is something some people know how to do, and it's something other people do not necessarily know how to do and don't have a process for it. And I wondered, what is your process? So in other words, how often do you sit down and review your strategic plan? Do you use any specific tools that help you stay on track? And also, do you get inspiration maybe, but like people like Gary Vee or something like that? Like, where do you find your inspiration for your plan and staying on track with it?
Funny thing, Gary Vee has a very ingenious way of marketing, and it's the humanism of it. And I believe that's what's granting most of his success. Is he's human about it. And it sounds like he's saying the complete opposite of what the main thing everybody else is thinking. So it gets in that particular value. When it comes to planning is a situation where deadlines. Like a little bit background, I graduated from Wayne State University. I'm marketing business administration degrees. I got 2 degrees. And the art of planning is crucial because you are in, and it comes with experience as well. So if you're planning a show, you got to make sure the sound is there. You got to make sure you got a location. You got to make sure that whatever acts you have there already have that. You got to have the sound check. Where's the sound man? Like certain things that you learn through experience is the best way of planning. The first best way of planning is watching it unravel on its own. If you're doing a show, go to a show and see how it's ran.
Yeah.
Ask the sound man what they would do. It part of just like doing a report. It's research. You're going through the book, figuring out what's going on. Figure out what venue does this. Figure out if they like this kind of music. Network and talk to individuals. And then when you have the planning, that's when you're bringing in all the arts and crafts materials. And then you've got the sheets of paper, and then you can make art. And that's the best way of planning. Planning is research, executing the research, and writing it down and executing it that way. That's the best way of planning, I would say.
It's a discipline. Also, another discipline, and kind of on that same note, you talked a little bit about going to see the show, and this is about live performance. So you're somebody who produces and you're a live performer. Many of the people who come to our meetup are not necessarily performing live and might like to do that. I just wondered in terms of how you practice, how much time you put into practice. You talked about even practicing holding the mic. Kind of how do you formulate, what is your practice schedule? What things do you focus on? What would you say to people who are kind of trying to transition from working in the box to getting out on the stage?
Well, to be honest, I learned it through experience of failure. I've had situations where I first performed ever. I'm in Detroit. It's a really, heavy hip hop area, and I didn't have the powerful voice yet. So they didn't know who I was. So there was a situation where I started rapping. They turned the microphone off and cut the set. And they were like, yeah, I don't think you'll fit here because of the way that you sound. So it was like one of those, like, kind of like, okay, that was wrong. You know what I mean? That's not cool. But it's the situation of, instead of getting mad about it, figure out a way to do it better. 2 weeks later, I came back on that same show and I did it the best way I could. And that's where you end up getting the respect. And that's the thing about musicians and things like that. When they're performing with you and all that, they're all shaking your hands. That's a great set. Okay, yada, yada, yada. But you're still a competitor on that stage too, unfortunately. And I know that's a value not to look at it in, but that's a situation that you have to have up hand. The best ways I practice breath control is one thing I would do is kind of really, really, I don't know if you heard this method before, but if you're on a treadmill, turn the treadmill anywhere between 3 to 4 miles an hour. And what you want to do is you want to jog that. Once you do that, you run your set. The adrenaline of you running on a treadmill is the nervous adrenaline that you will have on stage. If you get to the point that you understand what your body feels like when you're on stage, jumping up and down or anything like that, it gets your breath control together. Drink a lot of water. Water is extremely important. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure, I'm one of those people, it's a little different. Eat light. I would never eat heavy before a show because you don't have enough breath or air to bring in. You could be exhausted that way. And also, most important, know your limits. If you got an hour set and you know of a shadow of a doubt you're not going to make it past 45, plan ahead. And that's where planning comes in. Talk to the crowd. See what's going on. Find a person that's a friend of yours that's a hype man. He's got a couple songs or she's got a couple songs. Narrate those. If you did a collaboration with that person, bring that person on stage. Change the dynamic. Change all of those. And for the love of God, do not rap over your vocals. You have to know your stuff because you wrote it. So there should not be any crutches when it comes to that. Always pay attention to those. And then after that, don't cuff the mic. There's a lip at the bottom of it for a reason. Hold it by the handle and wrap it the way you need to. And best way to do it is just like what we used to do when we were kids, or when your mom or dad did when they were kids, is singing their favorite Patti LaBelle song, or Aretha Franklin with the mic, with the comb or the hair dryer or whatever. Practice like that in front of a mirror. Look focused, stay confident. Best way.
Mark, that was incredibly inspirational and some huge gems in just that last bit of commentary too. Thank you for sharing how you had a real failure and for illustrating what it means to be competitive and use a failure as a way to move forward. That is really cool stuff. I have a less inspired question, but more of a practical question. One thing we don't talk much about, but it is part and parcel of everything, is merch. And I wanted to know what merch has meant to you, and kind of how you apply that.
Okay, perfect. Well, one of the first merch is the Player One shirt. I don't know if you saw it earlier. I'm not trying to be the marketing guy selling stuff right now, but here's the thing about merch that a lot of people I've seen done right, and I've seen done wrong. The merch is the present of self. You want to wear your merch like you would enjoy your own stuff. Don't just make a whole bunch of merch that you would never wear, because they know that you won't. They find it cool that you put on your own shirt. You are confident enough in your brand to put on your own shirt in a show or at a venue, or you walking at the mall or anything like that. Logos and trademarks are international. You can't walk anywhere nowadays you will know what Nike is, what McDonald's is, and what, oh man, there's just a lot of different brands that you'll be able to recognize just right on the foot there. That's the same thing for merch. The only difference is an artist, you're now in a controlled environment where they're there to hear music. If they're a fan of that music and know you have merch, they're going to buy that. But it's also got to be appealing to them as well. And that's important. If you're wearing merch that's offensive or any of those, you might get some people because they might find it funny or whatever. But if any other brand wanted to, co-endorse or be able to help out the brand or invest into putting it in stores and things like that, there are different parameters for that. So the reason why, the reason why I chose Player One is because everybody has been Player One at one sort of point in time. Anybody who's ever played a video game, played an arcade console, went to the arcades, did anything, anybody who knows it knows that Player One is based off of video games and things like that. And Player One is also meaning alpha dog. It's meaning I am Player One. I am the one that owns the console. I am the guy with the game. I'm the one on the journey. It's me. And I like to bring that out as in when they wear this as Player One, they get the confidence to feel, hey, I'm Gene. I'm Mark Cooper. I'm who I am. I'm Player One in my world. And that's the best way to embrace a brand. And then when you do it for all ages and you inspire kids, it's a warming experience. And that's the way I usually do that.
That is so awesome. And thank you so much for this wonderful presentation, Mark. We've been delighted to have you today, and I think we learned a lot. I think we are a few minutes from moving into our break time. If anybody has any other questions for Mark, how would we reach you? Best way? Is it's Mark Cooper the best?
Yes. Oh, I didn't even know it was muted. My apologies.
No,
yeah,
that's okay.
It would be itsmarkcooper.com or any of the social platforms. I'm not a stranger. So if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, just reach out with a message. I'll respond to you. It's not a big deal.
Thanks again, Mark. We really appreciate your talk today.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on here. I'm honored. Very.
Cool. All right. We'll see you guys at, I believe our next talk coming up is at, sorry, let me give you the time. At, we want you to come back at 3:30 for Sydney Alston and Richard Pariser. This is going to be a good talk. All right. We look forward to seeing you guys in a few.